to another episode of Spilling Ink, the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and the artists in the publishing industry. I am your favorite host, Jason LaVelle. Yes, it's okay to say that, and it's okay to admit it. The other hosts aren't here. They're not going to have any idea what you said or what you agreed to. But I will. I will. Spilling Ink is brought to you by Book Branders, your self-publishing concierge, providing package and a la carte solutions to get your book to market. From book design to editing and marketing, their team of professionals can help you successfully bring your book to market without breaking the bank. You can contact Book Branders today at bookbranders.com. That's super easy. And they'll send you a free 10-step guide to successful self-publishing. So today is going to be a short show, but an important show, I think. And what I want to talk to you about today is starting your book, getting that novel going. And there are a lot of shows about structuring and plotting versus pantsing and how to outline and how to develop characters, but I don't want to talk to you about all that stuff. I want to talk to you about getting those first few words down on paper, because really that's the most important thing, getting you going, getting started on this project. So it all starts with an idea. And as authors or poets or whatever, we all have ideas that we think are going to make good stories or that we think are going to impact someone else's lives. But it doesn't have to be that grand idea. Not yet. I'm not talking about an idea for a book, for a story. I'm talking about something small, an idea for a scene. And that's how I start my books. So I don't outline my novels. Sometimes I'll write little notes here and there. Sometimes I'll think of a cool character attribute and I'll jot that down. And a lot of times I'll write down hair colors and eye colors because goodness knows I'm going to forget that. I've got the attention span of a chipmunk. So I'm basically winging it for the most part. But this can apply to you whether you like to plot things and outline things and write a whole character encyclopedia, or if you just fly by the seat of your pants. Come up with one idea for something that's going to happen in your story, preferably to a main character. And it can be as simple as thinking, what if this action or event happened to this person? You know, what if this guy was in line at the coffee shop and somebody tripped him, or he spilled coffee down the front of his shirt, or he ran into a barista and knocked her over a chair. It doesn't have to be a huge life-altering event, just something simple. And I'll tell you why something simple is okay in just a few minutes here. What I want you to do is take that one idea you have and write the scene, tell it, and tell it to the fullest extent that you can. Describe the setting, describe the coffee shop, or the mall, or the beach, or the woods, or the scary house, but describe as much of it as you can while you're writing this scene so that you can see it in your head very well, because that's important, because if we can't see it, the reader can't see it. So you write the scene, you give us the action. If there's dialogue, you're giving us the dialogue. And when you're done and you go back through, you're going to see that you've gotten the first little inklings of who your character is. You're starting to see the flavor of the fiction. You're finding your voice. And you're going to go through that scene a couple times, and you're going to pick out little things that you don't like. You may add things that you do like, or things that you think will spice it up a little bit. And that's part of the fun of writing, is adding in those little things that you think are going to make it better. But start with that one scene. I'll give you an example. My wife related a story to me about an awful act of animal abuse that she had heard about when she was a child, and it was something that had always stuck with her because it was horrific. And I'm not even going to describe it in detail here, but that stuck with me as well. And I wrote the scene, and I had no idea what it was going to be. I was just writing this really kind of gruesome, awful, emotionally gut-wrenching scene, and after I wrote it, I liked the characters that I had put in that scene, and I decided, hey, I want to create a story based on these characters. I want to go further. So using that one scene that in the whole scope of the book was just a teeny tiny little part of it, I ended up building an entire novel out of it. And that novel is called Whispers in the Shadows. And if you've read it, or if you're going to read it, I'm not going to spoil anything, but you'll know what I'm talking about. It is a little traumatic, I apologize, but I used that one scene to build the entire story. And many other things come into play as you're creating the story, and we won't go into all of them because that's a whole nother show. However, it's someplace for you to start. So if you have an idea in your head for this awesome dragon slayer woman that is going up and against an entire army of orcs and has to battle this or that or the other thing, you don't need to know the whole story. You just need to know, okay, maybe Angela the Dragon Slayer is battling this one person or meets this one person, and write that scene, because that's how you're going to start to get to know her. Whether or not you've done the rest of the research, get those first few words on paper. Get them down. And you'll be surprised by how much more easily the words begin to flow once you have that first scene down. So that's how I do it. That's how I get started with my books. There's nothing magical or especially glamorous about it. It's usually just a random thought that's popped into my head, or that I've heard in passing, and I thought, hey, that'd be interesting to write about. And I write that first scene and go from there. So I hope this has helped you. It certainly works for me. If it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry. I did my best. I'd love to chat with you more about writing, and we certainly will on the next episode of Spilling Ink.